This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible with support from Indeed Prime. Tech talent, are you tired of sending endless resumes ready for companies to apply to you? On Indeed Prime, one free application gets you in front of thousands of companies like WP Engine and PayPal. And everyone gets one-on-one access to career coaches to help seal the deal. Whether you're hiring or looking, meet your match on Indeed Prime. Join now at indeedprime.com/test. That's Indeed Prime, PRIME.com/test.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, August 1st, 2019, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's podcast. Oh, we're in August now, in the summer, in the heart of summer, but it's very cool in this room. And here with me is Jeremy Williams.
The coolest of all.
The coolest of all. Nice t-shirt there, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah? No,
Yeah.
rock on.
Yeah, we got some themed t-shirts going on if you're watching the video. Also, if you've watched the video, you'll know that we have a special guest this week. It's Zach Radding.
Very special.
Very special. You can hear him twice this week if you listen to all our podcasts.
Two times.
Yes, it just worked out. And we actually, earlier today, recorded an episode of Still Untitled with Adam and then went over to Tested office, and now we're recording This Only a Test. So there's gonna be a slight overlap, but wanted to get you in because we're gonna talk a bit about the work both of you did on episode 7 of Savage Builds.
It's timely. I think. See, this is the confusing part. It was aired episode 7, but it's actually it's recorded as episode 8.
That is true.
In what sense is it recorded as that?
Well, the title, if you actually look at the season 1 episode 8, like on a lot of the DVR stuff, it actually says episode 8.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, for Derby.
Dogfight Derby. We did all the voiceover that Adam did in this very room, in this very seat.
With these very mics.
With these very mics. Not that soundboard, though.
No,
we didn't have that. And I had the scripts for it. And yeah, it was billed as 8th episode. But I think, networks have flexibility when it comes to...
Shark Week happened.
Didn't want to say it, but yes, they have flexibility when it comes to the release timing. And they put both episodes in a 2-part finale. And I think it was a smart thing to do because then they put I think one of the best episodes, maybe the best episode, the one you guys worked on with the World War I airplanes right after BattleBots. So probably
and Food Fight was good too. I like that one. Yeah,
absolutely. You got Tori Blasey there as well.
Wait a minute, you watched Food Fight?
I watched Food Fight
because you didn't watch ours.
I didn't because it got bumped up a week. I'm saving it for friends.
Okay.
All right.
That's very noble of you.
Yeah, I'm trying.
But Jeremy, you did watch it.
I did. I was actually at California Extreme, which we'll also talk about, which is the annual arcade and pinball event here in Santa Clara, California. And it was perfectly timed because I don't have cable at home. But they have it at the Hyatt.
Oh, you stayed at the hotel to use their basic cable. So, you checked in. It's like the old, you got HBO? You got Discovery Channel?
That's right. You get Discovery?
Yes, you get Discovery. Great. I will take one room, please.
So I stayed and I cut my night short at California Extreme so I could run upstairs.
Guys, it's almost 10 p.m. I got to run back.
Look, there's a TV show I contributed to. Who wants to come? And no one came. But so I ran upstairs.
Room service, please.
And I watched the episode. I texted Zach and I said, hey, they delayed it in the Hyatt till 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
But
and I said no spoilers. Don't tell me.
They did, yeah. So they didn't actually do our show until 11 and then the Food Fight at midnight.
Wait, why?
DirecTV in the Hyatt. Who knows?
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. But in any case, I got to watch it. I think you didn't watch it either, did you?
I saw the episode.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, I saw it live, man.
Well, I think I saw it live.
I saw it liver.
As far as Santa Clara.
Yes, that's right. You were there. Yes.
Yeah, so that was great. I combined both two good things.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, we have 3 good things here. You guys are all here. Let's get to our top story then.
Top story this week.
I apologize to people listening to the podcast last week. I got so excited that we finally have stereo audio of these audio bumpers, these great introductory bumpers that you out there contributed made to us, but we still, our workflow outputs the podcast
Our
mono.
What does that mean?
My
We're at the whim
workflow.
of our workflow?
The whim of the workflow. I'm holding the baby in one hand. I
can
got the
only do
mouse in
one
the other
channel.
hand,
Only one
and
channel.
and I'm like, stop crying. I got to process this podcast, and I can't get it stereo working. So everyone's getting mono, but
Now.
All right. Well,
but we get to appreciate the great bumper in stereo. It sounds great.
these sound really good in stereo. I'm sad no one else can hear that.
We'll figure out a new workflow.
One day when we can hire an intern to change our workflow.
When someone I can hire an intern to hold the baby, and then I can change the workflow. But I did find someone to hold the baby on Saturday, and that's when I went down to California Extreme. That's our top story. Let's recap the wonderful convention that was. You were there last year.
I was. But what is California Extreme?
Gosh, I don't even know how long they've been doing it. It's since the mid-'90s. I think since 1996, 1997, they've been doing this in the Bay Area, where they get together with a bunch of arcade game collectors. They bring their games together, and they let everybody else play them. At this point, there's a fee to get in it, but it's really reasonable. It's $20 a day or something
all
like
day.
that.
$40 a day.
Is it 40? Okay.
60
Still-
if you want the weekend. But
still worth it.
Again, it's open till 2 a.m., so it is a full day.
It opens at 11, 10 if you pre-register, and then till 2 a.m. on Saturday. And you wouldn't be able to play every game there, I don't think, in that number of hours. There are so many games, and several that you've never played before.
Well, there's custom games.
Friend of the show, Steve Lynn, brought a Fire Escape, which there's only 4 of these. It was made in 1983. It's a physical game with a ball, and you have to basically bring it down this mechanical ladder. There's so many pinball machines. There's a tournament, and there's vendors, and it's just a blast. It's like walking into the biggest 1980s arcade that ever existed. And the great thing about last year, the reason why I think you went last year, is because we unveiled Star-Lords there, which is the game that we made on Bits to Atoms last year. Sean Charlesworth, Micah, Kevin Wilson, and I, we collaborated, and of course Zach, on making this amazing experience for us, which was the Star-Lords cabinet, this reminiscent of the 80s arcade game, but a completely novel design. 6 players standing around the outside of a hexagonal, really interestingly shaped geometric arcade cabinet. All new code, an homage to an old game called Warlords by Carla Minuski.
I don't remember the name, but yeah.
From Atari back in the day, and LED effects. And you guys brought it last year. I was not there.
Because you, at the same time, every year have been going to Pinburg.
Yeah, so there's another event in Pittsburgh, which is a big pinball tournament with like 1,000 people. A lot of us from the Bay Area fly out there and attend that, and that has coincided with California Extreme for the past 3 years, so I haven't been able to go to the show. But this year we brought Star-Lords back. The 2 events are on separate weekends.
And now you got to experience
I was
it.
able to go, and I got to tell you, it was the best. It was the best.
That's why you stayed down there the whole weekend. You got there Thursday night.
I helped to unload the game on Friday night.
A Friday night, okay.
And then, I got it all set up.
That's right. It's open Saturday, Sunday.
And that's it.
And people stay at the hotel. They can go to the pool anytime they want, and they go just enter this ballroom, get the wristband or the lanyard, and it is packed.
Yeah.
Like, it is not just wall to wall. They create, it's like a maze of electronics in arcades.
It's really well organized. They have the games all very well laid out. But having Star-Lords there, watching people play it, was the thrill I expected it to be. But what I didn't expect was the doors that had opened to conversations with other creative people who have also made their own games.
Oh, nice.
Right. So there were, the Killer Queen guys were there.
Yeah, and they unveiled a new game.
They had their new game.
It's a bike game, right? It's a racing game. What is it called?
Yeah.
I
What was
took
it called?
pictures of things.
Did you play it?
I did not get a chance to play it. There was a long line for it. It's not the same as Killer Queen.
Black Emperor.
Okay.
So so you expect the Killer Queen guys. These are like the kings of indie arcade. They made a 10-player arcade game, 5 versus 5, and it's there's 3 ways to win, and it's sort of Team Fortress 2-ish, like in terms of like choosing your class and using different strategies and teaming up and having a good time. But it's a novel arcade game because you only paid $1 or $2, for everybody to play.
Right.
So they kind of innovated on that, and they said, well, the bars are going to make most of their money on
Drinks.
on booze.
Yeah.
So let's give people an interesting thing to do while they're at the bar.
Yeah.
And so that was
And this
Killer
is-
Queen.
It's social by nature.
Exactly.
You need a lot of
you need
people.
a lot of
And
people.
but it's like side by side social. Like all the
Yeah.
social experiences people are having, the thought has been online for the past several years, whether it's on Xbox or PlayStation or even on your phone. It's all, virtual.
Far away.
And it's
Right.
not the kind of social that, like, those multiplayer arcades with multiple cabinets or your one shared giant screen.
Yeah.
Like everyone's looking at
It's
their
like-
own section of the screen.
It's like couch co-op in that sense. But with Killer Queen, you have two screens and you can't see each other's screen.
Right.
Anyway, so you figure, what are these guys going to do for their follow-up?
Yeah.
It's a single-player game. And it's really good. It's an intriguing, interesting idea. So you're on a motorcycle. It feels like a mobile game. You're on a motorcycle and you're driving down a road. You have to use this wheel. It's
It's a novel control mechanism.
a one-dimensional spinner, essentially. Well, I guess a spinner's one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if you...
It's a roller.
It's a roller. Where
Like
you
a
go,
mouse wheel.
Where you go up and down.
Like the,
No, but it's not a ball.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's
it's
like a
just
mouse
the
with like a big
the top.
honkin' mouse.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a scroll
yes,
wheel.
yes.
The scroll wheel.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
when you were saying mouse wheel, like old mice before they used lasers,
Oh,
they had
yeah,
the mouse
in-
ball,
internal,
and
but-
inside you had the rollers.
Yeah. The scroll wheel.
But it's spring-loaded, so it kind of comes back to center.
Ah.
And you have a button that's for your gas, and that's it. And then you go faster, and the faster you go, a fan starts to blow on you, which is a nice touch.
haptic feedback.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's actually because you watch people play and you don't know that, and then you step up and you experience that, and it's I didn't expect that. You come to dirt, and you have to be going fast enough because it will pull you back, and so the point is to get as far as right as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
It's an endless runner kind of thing.
Yeah, but every week, the game uses a random seed to generate a new map, and every single Black Emperor is set to the same seed. So every week, all Black Emperors get the same new map Saturday at 9 p.m. So it's like an endless runner, but it's one that you have to memorize the patterns. And so you go back and you get as far as possible. You get your high score. A week later, it's like up for grabs again.
Wow.
This is very much like Playdate. This makes me think
Oh,
of
right, their
what they're
release
doing
schedule?
with
Unique
Playdate in
unique
terms-
interface.
Unique interface, novel control,
but
mechanism,
relatively simple game.
but
The actual concept.
simple concepts, but also a shared,
experience.
I guess, asymmetrical experience across people. Like they're
Right.
not playing with each other, but they're playing the same thing.
I'm not sure if there's an online leaderboard, but why not?
Yeah.
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 There's also a game called Cosmotrons, which is like it's a vector style game, but it's also a deathmatch, and you choose the ship that you want. It's like Space War on steroids.
This is separate from Black Emperor. This is just another
totally
game.
different game,
Okay.
but it's
a
another
new-
indie game. Like
Okay.
they've sold, a handful of cabinets.
Yeah.
Congrats to them for that. They've sold. I don't want to say their numbers, but it's impressive, and they. It's super cool. You choose your ship, and there's different difficulties, and you battle each other, and there's space races and all kinds of things, and it's just cool to have brought a game that allows me to have conversations with these people about the development processes.
And were the
what it
makers
takes.
just kind of hanging out next to their games, or how did you make
Well,
that connection?
during setup? Yes, and then they have tournaments sometimes, but more often than not, they're wandering around just appreciating the show.
Sure.
Assuming that their games are working. Now, last year our game fell apart a couple times. Like it overheated.
Yep. I wouldn't say fell apart, but yeah, got a little toasty.
Sorry, of course it didn't fall apart. But
Is Zach responsible for the
I glued those
chassis?
parts together. So.
Right? Your CNC?
so it overheated. This year, instead of 2 fans, I think Sean installed almost 10 of them.
Yeah.
And it ran solid the entire 2 days.
And
Yeah,
had
cool.
some great lighting, some new
Oh yeah,
lighting.
some down
Some new
underlighting.
lighting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, the thing that interests you is like you guys talked last year about what it would take to start manufacturing Star Lords, because a lot of people asked and wanted them.
Yeah, we still get
And-
questions about that. Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to do with the economics of making an arcade machine, distributing it, it's providing support. It's
a business.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's true. Absolutely true. For a standard arcade cabinet. For our arcade cabinet, it's almost like unfathomable.
Right.
Because we wouldn't want to have that level of complexity to
It's
manufacture
a weird box
or support.
Yeah.
So we would have to rethink it. But it's something there's certainly been an interest in, and I think if we had the bandwidth, we would probably do it. But we're still trying to figure out where that bandwidth can come from.
A few of my highlights. I was just there for Saturday afternoon, but one of the I'm playing a video on my phone. I shot videos and photos to remind myself what I saw. There's a great game called Shoot the Bear.
Yeah, that's an old one, right?
Super old from 1940s animatronic
game. Is it really that old?
It's 40s or 60s.
Wow.
It's basically it's over 50 years old, and it barely runs. No pun intended. Every year, but it is an old like Nickelodeon style arcade where a robot bear is chased by a tiny robot rabbit or dog, I believe, and you have a light gun. And you got to stop the bear, and the bear's light targets, and it made me think of the work you guys did on Savage Builds.
Yeah.
And it was a super fun game to play. Like it's amazing that they restore it every year, essentially, to let people kind of go nuts at it for the whole weekend. It's not just in a museum.
I love that they California Extreme tweeted, "Game, shoot the bear. Directions, shoot the bear."
That's it. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and it has like totally analog like scoring. It's like numbers just light up as you hit the bear, and it dances once you hit it, so that it reveals more targets every time you hit it. Some people are really good at it.
It's amazing. Game mechanics haven't changed all that much.
Yeah. Probably my favorite game was this game called Predators.
I didn't play that.
Yeah, you did. We played this together.
What?
Yeah, this is the one that was the old Atari or Williams game.
Oh, the Birds of Prey game.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I didn't know it was called Predators.
So it was kind of hidden. So like, you have tons of these great arcade games, and there are some people selling stuff too, selling like boards, selling playfields, selling merch, selling all sorts of fun things. And next to this one booth where this guy was selling all sorts of electronics or different arcade accessories, what looked like, it made me think of Star-Lord's because it was a four-sided stand-up cabinet with LCD monitors. And it was portrait orientation monitors. So the cabinet, they think of like arcade cabinet, but merged together so you don't get the full backing. There's no gap between the four sides, and it's just four monitors. And on each side, there's I believe a stick and a ball. Right? It was a trackball and two buttons. It was basically asteroids controls. Right? You can fire and you can thrust and you can move in any direction. But it was a 4-player game in a shared map, and you fly around and you shoot it's in space. You shoot. You go through black holes to warp to other places in the map. There are parasites that fly around. There's a big sun in the middle of the map that you don't get too close to, and it's basically this combat game. I found it super fun, especially with other people. And I thought it was like, okay, is this like a Star-Lord's thing where some guy just designed this game and made it? And then chatted with the guy who ran the store and where this game was in this corner, and he said, no, this was a prototype game that they tested and decided not to manufacture.
This is a Williams game.
And it's a Williams game.
Yeah.
And he found original boards, and they were rare boards, and what we were playing was running on original boards.
Wow.
And the only thing that was different was that he fabricated the cabinet, because none of those exist, and then used LCDs because it was difficult. You couldn't put 4 CRTs behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a joystick. And
it was a joystick? Maybe it was joystick.
Just like maybe a thrust and a fire kind
That's
of thing.
That's it, yeah.
But yeah, it was cool because each player was a different bird of prey, like, falcon, hawk. And
wait, I thought they were space.
Well,
birds, yeah, I think they were like
birds in space.
Yes, it was very like not like Thundercats, but what's the other one?
Voltron?
No,
Maybe.
the hawk one.
Don't know.
Silverhawk.
Okay.
And so you could see it was sort of like I don't know, but you could see yourself flying around in space, and you had a little HUD. You had a little radar.
Got it.
So you could see where the other guys were. So you had to fly through space and kill the other guys.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly, I could sort of tell why it wasn't produced. Like, it wasn't the best game ever. But to play a game, a freaking Williams game that was practically in production, that's such a unique cabinet,
right?
And multiplayer experience.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
And we didn't get to see the boards, but he said it was a very complicated very stacked board design.
Really?
There's a lot of electronics because it was all running in one, like, even though it was 4 cabinets, it was all running on the boards.
It's all synchronized.
All synchronized in one cabinet.
Nice.
And
Before its time.
yeah, even the UI felt very 80s, like the scoring and the names on top. It was lovely. There might be some pictures online you can find.
I also talked to the Armed and Gelatinous guys. This is a funny game where there's different game modes to this game, but it's another one of these indie arcade games. The mode that I played was sort of like what was that game that was super popular where you were a ball and you roll around and you pick up everything that you rolled on top of and get bigger and bigger. Katamari?
Katamari, yeah.
It was like that, but it was 2D, and you would hit weapons, and wherever they hit you, they'd now become armed, and you could like rotate and try to kill it, or move around the screen and kill everybody else. Super cute game, but there's like a football game in there, there's all kinds of things, but it's super interesting to me that there are people making arcade games still, and not like mass manufacturing them. Not talking about like Raw Thrills, which they're like the major Dave & Buster's partner making all of the racing games that you see there. I mean, these are indies that have chosen to make arcade games because and not mobile games
or Steam games
or Steam games.
Yes, physical games.
Yeah,
because they like the feeling, the physical, the tactile feel of an arcade.
Exactly, and like the getting togetherness of an arcade.
Well, and the development's accessible. You know, it's all the boards, you can buy, you can fabricate relatively easy. You can find a makerspace with a CNC. You know, you can do the graphics.
I wouldn't trivialize it. Like,
I'm saying it's doable.
It was a total piece of cake. Nothing.
Because the
it's
problem,
doable. You don't need to be a big corporation to do it.
The problem is that when you're selling on Steam or mobile, your supply always equals demand, 1-to-1. You know, if somebody wants to buy a copy, another copy is made for you.
Yep.
Instantaneously. Whereas when in arcades, you have to manufacture them. You have to store all of that. You have the whole problem of warehousing.
Shipping. And
shipping. And not to mention like support.
That can make or break you.
And so it is definitely there are pros and cons, but the pros are so compelling because there are different expectations on an arcade game. It can be a easier to learn, hard to master kind of experience. Whereas on Steam, you expect a little bit more depth. You also expect updates and, maybe free updates constantly, or DLC or expansions. Whereas in the arcade, that's not the expectation.
The bugs are part of the game.
And it's 2 minutes of fun.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay.
Right.
One of the coolest things saw there, speaking of old arcades, was this guy who had remade classic games from, I think it was Asteroids and Battlezone, but the display was a vector display. Was like an oscilloscope, and I didn't understand how this worked.
How do you make your own vector display? But this is like, obviously you just take a couple magnets and you like put a laser in there.
But so the display itself was custom, like the physical display.
Yeah,
physical display. It was deep, like it was using lab equipment.
Super small.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wonder if this is actually an oscilloscope display.
It is. No, they actually turn the oscilloscope display.
Like the old, yeah.
And somehow pipe the logic of the game.
I thought he built his own displays.
I think he wound them himself, or restored them.
Okay.
Yeah. This looks like the old oscilloscope, CRT.
Yeah.
The super long ones. And
But he did a very similar thing to Matt's arcade games where
Small Change Arcade,
where he left part of the cabinet exposed with acrylic so that you could see inside, which I think is great.
Oh, absolutely. And especially with the high voltage tube and everything, it probably looks really cool with all the flyback, coils and things like that in there.
Super high tech. I mean, it's definitely, it shows off the fact that it's not an OLED display.
Ironically, it's really low tech compared to today's displays, but yes.
I guess that's one way to look at it, but it's so much more interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
So Zach, can you explain to me how oscilloscope displays work compared to something like a CRT?
They are just CRTs. They're just single. You're only exciting just raw phosphorus, and it's just you're still steering a electron beam to light it up. So
what gives it that vector look where straight lines don't look straight? They all look.
So it's not rastered. So it's how the beam moves. So on a like a television, CRT, you're always scanning from top to side, and so you're going every single line.
And to interject, you're actually doing every other line.
Oh,
Right,
it's
scan line.
interlaced.
Yeah.
Because when they did them all in one order, the phosphorus would die before they could get back up there.
So it would alternate between
Right.
even and odd lines.
Exactly. But so in a vector screen, you're actually driving the shape. So instead of scanning every line, you're only scanning the area that you want to draw. So it's almost like an Etch-a-Sketch, but you can turn the beam on and off. So you can have a shape in the middle of the screen, just draw that, and then draw a spaceship next to it. But it's still steering it in the same...
So it's literally per frame, what you would think of as a frame, it is drawing the strokes, and the way it draws is that style is just built into the technology.
It's a lot like, if you see the laser light shows where they're drawing with a laser light, same kind of idea.
And that's why those do evoke that same type of vector.
Exactly.
I don't think there's the same concept of frames though with vector games, because you don't have to deal with that, the interlaced, how long do your phosphors live. It is about like how long
it's how you still have a frame as in like how quickly you can update a given object.
Right.
So the complexity of the object and the shape of it, how quickly it can turn. All those things kind of play into the vector graphics.
It's about how long will that image last after it's been burned into the screen,
right?
Versus like how often do you want to update it? Because if you want to do a screen that like lasts a long time, you could probably do very long lasting phosphors and do a complex image.
Sure.
But if you want them to
so it can be variable.
Yeah.
Like
and it's
UI you can just draw that at the beginning and then just change stuff
and it's
around
much more tied to the hardware because it's how much energy you're putting into that phosphorus. That's kind of at almost a hardware level, not at software. Like you don't you don't really have good brightness control. You basically have how bright you charge it up to, and that's what it is. So things like UI elements, you have to decide kind of up front, how often you want to update it, how much, sort of ghosting effect you want, smearing, all of those things.
There's certain parts that are naturally dimmer or brighter because of the way...
I think the old tubes, I think some of the edges because of just how it's physically steering the beam, I think there was definitely some, I forget all the details. I haven't worked with tubes or that sort of display.
The look of vector games is so distinct, and it has held up so well. Yeah. Like it is a look you cannot mimic on an OLED display.
Right. Yeah, the brightness of it, it's pure light. It's like HDR lines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Infinite contrast, it seems like. So, yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. So there was his version of Flappy Bird, Battlezone, and Asteroids there. And people weren't playing it. And I was like, no, this is super cool.
Yeah.
It's just it's fun to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole second room in California Extreme, like another ballroom they expanded, which had more arcades. There was a whole wall that was all cocktail cabinets. And that was a lot of fun. See people playing head-to-head cocktail. So like Original Warlords was there. And then there was a big 20-foot by 20-foot space where there was a VR demo.
Yeah.
Which seems
cool.
so out of place.
You saw that, right?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So it was 4 guys. I don't know. I want to say 4 guys. It was 4 players. And it was brought there by a team who, God, they must be high school.
No,
early college.
I can't tell. Anyone under 20, I can't, or 25. I can't
young
tell
guys who had a good idea. So they have backpack VR rigs.
Nice.
And they sectioned off like I don't know how much square footage would you say that was?
20 foot by 20 feet. 20 feet by 20.
And they had signups, and they were booked by the time we got there, but we got a couple of the last slots. You put on the backpacks, you put on the standard Vive headsets, and you walk in there, and it's 4 of you, and you have to work cooperatively in order to do the most simple things possible. But of course, it's VR, and it's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So you're smashing blocks initially. Everybody can smash any block that's coming towards them.
Okay.
And then you have to smash your color block. Because all of us, what were we, mice?
Cats.
VR
cats.
Yeah. We had plugs coming out of our tails. It was very weird. But we were all a different color.
Okay.
And so you had to smash your own color block.
So sort of Beat Saber-ish?
In a sense, but they're coming relatively slowly. But the problem was you had to move around all the other players. It actually took me a minute to get adjusted to being in the same space because I'm so used to playing VR, different spaces.
It's a really interesting business model because the company's called Virtual World Arcade. On the website, it says their founder, also named Jeremy, used to work at Microsoft. He worked on HoloLens, apparently.
Probably not a high schooler then.
No, probably not a high schooler. But they are as opposed to a location-based VR company where they have an established building. They go to parties. You can hire them. You can book them for events, and they'll bring all the gear. And so they've developed basically party games that can cycle people through. You can we play for 10 minutes, but presumably their games you can play for much longer. And they have a series of mini games. But the interesting thing is those mini games are also playable online. So you can buy their games on Steam.
And play them in
play
VR
them
or
in
on
VR
Really?
remotely.
Oh, cool.
Which is theoretically the same game, but the experience is
Totally
completely different, as
sure.
Jeremy was talking about. Like, we were standing there and you forgot that we were in the shared VR space, shared physical space.
It was me, you, Steve Lynn, and
a kid.
a kid named Aiden. And
Yeah.
I stumbled over poor Aiden because I was not used to playing in the same space. I'm used to playing, games with Norm and Kishore.
in Rec Room, you just run over us all the time.
Run through each other.
But you were physically running.
You can't run through Aiden.
But you were physically walking, right? It wasn't even thumbstick control.
No. You're physically walking one-to-one locomotion
Wow.
yourselves. But then it got more interesting when you were hitting blocks. Then we all had to fit through corridors together. So we had to line
that was
up.
so much fun.
You had to line up
Oh,
as
right.
the corridor comes towards you.
Oh yeah, like there's a TV
Hole in
show.
the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like that, and it made me think of, because the locomotion wasn't more than 20 by 20. They weren't doing any redirected walking. It was basically we were on this floating platform, but you still had waves of things coming at you, almost
Sure.
a Beat Saber like,
Yeah.
right? But once the walls start coming at me, I'm like, this would make a great. Do you remember the original Contra?
Oh yeah.
Side scroller,
Yeah.
but the interstitial levels
Where
were,
you're laying on your
where you're
stomach
laying on
or
your
your
stomach,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That would be a great game for this, where
Yeah.
you have like the barriers and the enemies come toward you, and you're shooting them, and you got to jump, or you got to you got to avoid the obstacles, but you get a sense of like a rail shooter,
Yeah.
on rails, but you still feel like you're in.
Sounds like a quest
face to
title.
face. Yeah. And they have a whole slew of mini games. We only played one of them. The communication was essential. It felt like being on like one of those game shows where.
Now, did you have headphones, or were you literally just talking?
We
with,
did have headphones, but I don't know if we.
I don't think we needed them.
I mean,
You were hearing just
you wouldn't necessarily-
ambient
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Wow,
There was one
that's
later
great.
game mode where it was almost like super hot style, where the blocks were color coded, but they wouldn't come toward you unless someone moved.
All
And
right.
then you just yell at the person moving. You're like, "Stop moving!
Stop moving, blue, your block's coming over the left side. Okay, you move over there. Everyone else,
That's
stop.
that's some good stuff there.
Yeah,
So-
it was a good time, but it's just a cool business model to see people who basically can take off the shelf stuff and set themselves up to be a birthday party experience.
Right.
Then
And
come to
they've
your
they've
house.
found something that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's great.
So it's $400 an hour to book them, 2-hour minimum for birthday parties, and they 2 hours to set up, 1 hour to tear down, and they put kids in them. Kids who are 6 years old or
I'm
older.
sure it's a great time. I want to go to that party.
Yeah, I wish we had that going on. Better than the clown. Better than the magician. Better than the clown. Anything else from California Extreme that you want to call out? Any pinball maybe that you played that you like? I mean, you play so much pinball. There was no Jurassic Park there, no new stuff there.
No, it's just good to see that the guys like Steve Ritchie gave a good talk on the making of Black Knight Sword of Rage. It was just nice to see everybody. I mean that was really it for me. It was just a chance to reconnect with people I rarely see, along with meeting some new people who made these very interesting indie arcade games. So I can't wait to go back next year. I hope that the team is willing to bring Star-Lords back.
Yeah, why not? And upgrades, new modes. I don't know, whatever you have time to make. I got a Star-Lord's T-shirt.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think you guys are
coming
selling
coming
those
soon
now?
to the.
Yeah, Sean put that up on his Etsy store.
Yes.
So
Seaworth Dynamics.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Mhm.
So search for that on Etsy, and I like this one. It's
a good
very
looking
nice.
shirt.
They're designed by Karen Yang, nerdy design sketches, who also designed the Tested shirt. She's awesome, and I think they're really happy. You guys are really happy with this shirt. I played some pinball as well. I really like of the new Stern stuff.
Do you like the Munsters?
Well, I like the look of the Munsters.
Yeah.
And
The black and white one.
the black and white, which is the premium,
yeah.
model, the more expensive one.
Yeah.
Because that one has a whole separate mini playfield underneath.
And it's not just like AC/DC also did that.
Yeah.
But it was just flippers and some lanes. That one, Monsters, has
one.
an actual ramp.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
has
super
like
cool.
a ramp on left and right.
Wireform stuff. Yeah,
and
it's
you got to
cool.
hit jackpots, and you got to actually, it's like a mini game.
Yeah.
And visually, I love that black and white look. The theming was great. Playing it, I'm like, I couldn't see myself playing this like
I see.
nonstop.
Yeah.
The game I really enjoyed was Deadpool.
Oh, really? That's Tanya's game.
Really like Deadpool.
Yeah.
Which is another Stern game. Last year it came out?
Yep.
Is that right?
Or earlier this.
This is not based on the movie. It's the comic book Marvel Deadpool. And all the Stern games now have like a LCD
Yeah.
like in the back. And they have like pixel art
Yeah,
Deadpool.
they decided to go with an aesthetic like a 90s fighting game.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I love that look.
And they really did it. Like
It was great.
You should see that. Tanya did a talk on the making of that game, and it was you could see the sprite sheets that they used, and
Oh my
they hired
gosh.
pixel artists and the whole bit.
Because you would see like a whole fighting game play out, like Deadpool versus Juggernaut or
Yeah.
Mystique as you're playing pinball.
But in order to
Nice.
fight, you have to hit the
you have
correct
to hit
shots.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love that. And then the Batman 1966 that's always a good one.
Beautiful game, and there, I saw Batman playing it.
Oh,
Yeah, with,
wow.
like,
How meta.
Yeah.
Wait, like a guy dressed as Batman?
Yeah, he showed up at midnight.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he showed up. No one expected it. It was not a planned thing, but here he is. There's Batman playing Batman.
That is super cool.
It's like it's great, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And 60s Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
no, that's a great game. Batman.
Very
66.
expensive.
It is
There's no pro version.
because you'd have to.
They're
take,
all pro versions.
You'd have to take out the rotisserie, and that is so.
What is
crucial.
the rotisserie?
It's the central mech. It's this amazingly complicated mech that basically runs the game. So you're hitting it when it spins, it will give you the telephone, or it can also lock balls, or it can pass balls through to the left orbit.
Explain is that the crane mechanism
Nope,
in the middle?
nope, that's different. It's to the left of that. There's to start a mode, you have to hit the telephone when it's ringing.
Okay.
And that's when the thing will spin.
Oh, got
and it.
it,
will
got
present
it.
you with the telephone.
Okay. So it is literally like an old 60s diner
Yeah.
rotisserie
Yeah.
that rotates and presents you with options. But
Yeah.
that
But it has moving parts, and I think there's a TV screen on it.
That
and
makes it
lots of things.
expensive.
Yeah.
got it.
George Gomez design. Same guy who did Deadpool.
Oh. Okay.
You're a George Gomez
Yeah,
fan.
I guess I am.
Who knew?
Yeah.
You should
yeah.
play Monster Bash.
That's one you have.
I used to.
How do you make the decision? Like being there, I'm like, okay, these games are so awesome. They're also really expensive. Like at the bare minimum, a pro level, which is the entry level for Stern, is $5,500. Over $5,000.
Yeah.
And a
Shipped.
premium stuff.
New.
I mean, like street price. Shipped, probably, yes.
And then like $7,500, right, for like
For the premium.
premium
Yeah.
one. Like if you're not going to operate, that's a very expensive thing to buy for the home.
Yes, absolutely. No question.
So most people buy to put in arcades and
well,
make some money back.
It's like half and half, I think. But the people who buy them for home, a lot of people try to think, like they don't think too hard about how much they're going to lose because they try to think that they'll maintain their value. Like that's the hope. Some games like appreciate.
Go up in value.
And that's why Stern charges what they want for the limited editions, the LEs, which are truly limited in number. Those have like all the nice accoutrements and bling on the outside, new custom colors on the side rails, and mirrored back glass and
Right.
plates and things. Those could actually retain, if not appreciate,
So
in
investments.
value. Yeah, the premiums, the pros, they're going to go down in value, but if you get lucky, Stern will stop manufacturing because like their license will run out.
Oh, okay.
And then they can't make anymore, and suddenly
People
now
want them.
Yeah,
Right.
now you have a valuable game because there will never be more. They're actually deteriorating, and if you have a nice one, people
You keep
care
it in
about
good
that.
condition. If you're not
Yeah.
operating, that'll probably be in good condition at home. So you can't think of it as a math of like, oh, I'm paying $1, $2 per game. How
Right.
many times do I play tonight?
Oh, no, that
to
would
make
hurt
it-
too much.
You would never
I'm
get to.
guessing people that are buying $7,500 arcade or cabinets are not going, I wonder how I can, get my money back. I don't think that's
Well,
if they're not operating.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're just doing it for home, I think that's more of just a
if money
passion.
is an issue,
Yeah.
look at the older games because those are, appreciating in value over time. I bought a Demolition Man
Right.
for $1,300 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I just sold it for $2,500.
Wow.
So it's like
And you have to play it.
the older games definitely aren't being made anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not true anymore.
Because they remake.
They are remaking like Monster Bash, Attack from Mars, and Meat of Madness. But if you buy like one of the B level titles that's not ever going to be made again, those are definitely in demand. So yeah, I don't know.
Or do arcades do like passes, like subscription, membership passes where you pay, $20 a month, $30 a month, whatever it is, and then get to go unlimited play?
I think like places like we went to in Alameda that one time. There,
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, Pacific Pinball Museum.
Yeah.
We'll do that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably the smarter move if you want to play arcades.
You know what? You just get a game that you enjoy. Worst case scenario, you're going to buy it, you're going to sell it in one day, and you'll lose a few $100s on it.
But you'll be happy.
You gotta find that thing.
It's not. Don't look at it as like it's $7,500 out of your pocket.
Yeah,
like
yeah, you
forever.
gotta look at it like that.
It's not forever. There's some equity there. Much better than a car.
Much better. I guess you can play with it more than you can a Bitcoin. Yeah, I'll think of it that way.
How's Norm's Bitcoin doing?
Yeah. Oh, actually, Jeremy, tell me how my Bitcoin is doing.
Well, if you had it today, it would be worth $9,600.
So gone down.
Yeah.
Well,
since our update?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's
gone down,
That's like
gone
a 30%
up, gone down.
drop.
It's a 4-figure thing now.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that is it for California Extreme. If you are in the Bay Area or if you have time to travel and means to travel, it is a wonderful, wonderful convention every summer in Santa Clara.
And if you're in Pittsburgh this weekend, Replay FX is happening. I would hope if you're in Pittsburgh, you already know about this. But it is the California Extreme of Pennsylvania, and it's a good time. And I'll be there. I'll be playing in Pinburgh, which is the biggest pinball tournament of all time. Last year, I think it was like 800 people.
And you did really well.
I got second place.
That's really good.
Overall?
D division.
Oh.
And so this year, it's 1,000 people. So they're always able to say it's the biggest pinball tournament of all time. But it's a good event, even if you're not playing pinball. It's good. It's like arcades galore. Even more space than Cal Extreme. Live music, bouncy houses.
Perfect.
Have I sold you? Are you coming?
I'm right there.
All right. All right. Cool. What are we doing? Pop culture?
Let's do it. A few things I didn't put on our show notes I want to call out. First, one, Avengers Endgame is now out on digital. Even though Kishore's not here, I'm going to rep him and let people know that you can watch Endgame.
As many times as you want.
As many times you want right now. You're not going to add to their box office gross.
When's the last time it was still in theaters and in digital? Like, that's interesting.
I think it's probably gone from theaters now.
Really? Like, they hit their mark and they're out.
I bet like very few. I bet they did that last push, hit their mark, beat Avatar, and they immediately saw the home video money, and people are buying Blu-rays, and it's
They're never not making money on Endgame.
they never will stop making money on Endgame. It's the MCU goes on and on and on. The other thing, an update to another Kishore thing, is when Kishore and I were at Comic-Con, went to the Batman Museum, and we saw these amazing costumes from the first 4 Batman films, from 89 to Batman and Robin. And in our video, one of the things I remarked was like the condition of the costumes were amazing. They did not look like they had deteriorated much, or they looked like there was some restoration. And DC actually put out a video about the restoration process. And it ties a little bit to what we were talking about in Still Untitled about the restoration process for like World War I airplanes and the idea of restoration in general. Because it turns out when DC went to, they needed a costume that they could put in their vault, the Warner Brothers archive. There was in this DC video, it's on their YouTube channel. You can see a glimpse of like the Warner Brothers warehouse. It is literally like from the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is, you can't see the end of it. It is shelves and shelves and things in pallets and cars and giant things from their films that are being preserved or at least archived. They have a room there that they call like their Bat Cave, which is literally, I couldn't tell how big it was. It might be no bigger than maybe this room we're in right now, but 50 bat cows just in shelves.
Wow.
In various conditions. Like 50 of them lined like on these mannequins' heads. But for 1989, the first Batman Michael Keaton suit, they had photos and video of what that suit was like before restoration, and basically it was literally crumbling. Like foam latex exposed to sun is going to disintegrate. It just turns to powder.
Yeah.
And so even though I'd known that Ironhead Studio, the specialty costumes production fabrication shop and design shop in LA, they've worked on Batman films, they did the restoration work. What did that entail? So the video shows that they basically remade the entirety of the suit. They did a scan, Artec, photogrammetry scan, hand scanner scan of the damaged suit. They found a life cast of Michael Keaton so they could make the interior of it to mold it around him.
I can't believe they saved that.
They found someone, a collector, I think, in the
Okay.
community had like a life cast of Michael Keaton. It may not have been from Warner Brothers.
I'm a little creeped out if somebody else has my life
LA,
cast.
LA collectors will collect everything. You know, you go to like some of these
Sure.
collectors and they have like the head face cast. What used to be like the death cast of like all these famous actors because it's their touchstone. You know, they'll
Yeah.
have like that is the face cast of like of Ron Williams or
Well, yeah, who's got your face cast? Don't you?
I have mine. I have mine.
Nobody else does?
No one has it. I have one. Frank has the
That you
molds.
think.
Frank has the mold, so you probably could make one. But I have my plaster cast at home.
Okay.
It's creepy. It has my eyelashes still attached to it because you know when you make the mold,
Yeah.
you put the silicone which grabs your eyelashes, and then when you pour the plaster in, and you demold it, it transfers back into the face, and so my face cast still has DNA. Anyway, that's an
so
aside.
they can clone you at some point.
Yeah, that's right. So they scanned it, they digitally modeled it, and then they printed and molded, made mold and cast, and they basically remade the suit. But the thing that ties it to the original isn't just the digital data. The original suit, which is disintegrated, basically they destroyed it, and they have like an urn with like the old foam latex.
my
And
God.
as they were casting
Oh.
the new rubber suit, they sprinkled in the old suit into the rubber of the new suit. And
Very
so it's-
superstitious.
So it has
The soul.
the soul of the original
so-
suit.
Are they actually calling that then a restoration?
See, that's the thing. I was watching. This is like, it's a rebuild. But then thinking about when you went to visit the factory where Peter Jackson rebuilds, they still call those restorations. Where is the line
Right.
between
Well-
rebuild and restoration?
Well,
And-
I mean, I think at least in the airplanes, the engines, the steel blocks, the aluminum or whatever they're made out of, like those, a lot of those are original
yeah.
pieces. The wood and the fabric, a lot of that, yeah, I mean, that would just disintegrate over the years. So,
I mean, there are restorations of all sorts of things where it's maybe 90%
Right.
new material, but done in a way, and maybe it's part of the process done in a way that is as true to the original, both in
Sure.
the physical build or actually the way they made it, but it is still considered original because
it's got a
it has
sprinkling.
that sprinkling. It has that 10% that no one else could make.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
That's exactly how I was feeling as I was watching. I was like, it's a super cool process, but it is blurring the line. Like, could they not really have just patched it? Like, would Warner Brothers or whatever collector not be happy with something that was 80% the original suit, but like in a really terrible, unwearable condition?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to have to redefine a lot of these things because especially as we get to just more and more just straight digital stuff,
Yeah.
people that want to collect props, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, here's a Photoshop of one? I don't know. Like, that's not a collection.
Right.
But
Is 3D printing? Is it using the original printer, the original
Original
filament,
files? Oh,
original
the-
file, and the original filament on the original printer? Is that what makes it an original?
yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Something I want to talk about last week, we didn't get a chance to, but Jeremy, you watched a movie. We both watched this. We watched the movie yesterday.
I'm a big Danny Boyle fan. Always have been since Shallow Grave, and I'm always curious to see what he's going to do because you never know. Is it going to be dark? Is it going to be family friendly? Is it going to be like G-rated, like Millions, or is it going to be?
Oh, I love Millions.
Yeah, or is it going to be like
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire, which is like intense and epic? This was more in the Millions side, and so it's very. You take this film lightly, you're gonna have a good time. If you're a diehard Beatles fan and this stuff is precious and you can't touch it, then you're gonna maybe you'll be a little upset.
I think he's acknowledged there's a divisive, maybe / controversial moment in the film, decision they make. I won't spoil it. The divisive amongst Beatles fans. I was totally happy with it. I'm glad I thought it was a great moment.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I want to mention on this podcast is because it actually is a science fiction film.
Sure.
It's an alternate reality film.
Although they don't go into all of the
And I'm glad they don't. I don't.
What
Glad
happens, yeah.
I don't need the answer of like how this reality. If you don't know the premise, Zach, a singer songwriter, a struggling singer songwriter, gets into a minor accident, and at the same time, all the lights in the world black out for like 6 minutes or something. And when he wakes up, he's the only one who remembers the Beatles. So he's entered a Donnie Darko style alternate universe in which the Beatles don't exist.
not just the Beatles though. That's the funny part.
That's the alternate universe reality part of it.
Yeah.
They do tease the consequences of what would be like, not just the Google searches, but what the world would be like And
Like Oasis doesn't exist either.
So all the influenced.
Yeah.
and not just the influence, but like the things that they brought into common lexicon.
Sure. It's the butterfly effect.
It's the butterfly effect, but it's like things that most people take for granted.
Sure.
Like Coke.
Yeah, that was
The
weird.
soda,
Like
yeah.
that's not related, right? That was just like something else that doesn't exist.
I don't know. Is
Okay.
there a lineage? Is there a direct lineage between the Beatles and the success
certainly-
of the beverage
Yeah,
of
that can't-
Coca-Cola?
no, Coke was always popular.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but that was definitely funny. That was
Yeah.
funny as he learned what didn't exist, because it's kind of mind blowing to
Or what
know
was
that you're in a
different.
world where those things
Yeah.
don't. But it was, it's a sweet movie. There's
I will go see it now.
There's a couple.
You've sold me.
There's a couple scenes that are maybe unexpected, and it's well acted.
Yeah.
I really like the
The
main,
lead, yeah,
the main.
Himesh Patel, yeah. He released the soundtrack to the movie is him singing Beatles songs, and
Nice.
he's a great singer.
That's great, and his delivery and persona remind me a little bit of Russell Brand, and I wonder if they're from the same part of England.
No way.
If you watch the way he controls his mouth and his sense of humor and his intonations, it's very similar, and so I wonder if they're from the same part of town.
Huh.
Don't
Very
know.
different personalities.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Interesting. We got to go with some Picard news because we were in the countdown to Picard 2020.
Wow,
Picard
we're starting our count early.
Yeah, Mars 2020 will take a back seat to Picard 2020. And I got two bits of Picard news for you. One, Star Trek is going to release Chateau Picard, the wine. So we were speculating because they had a crate of this at Comic-Con.
You saw it.
We saw
Yeah.
the crate, and whether that was just a prop or whether it was something that they were going to merchandise. And it turns out, it's going to be the latter. So we don't know who makes this wine.
Well, as I said before the show, it's not going to matter to you because you're not going to open it.
That's true.
You're not gonna
That's
drink
true.
it.
They've partnered with Wines That Rock. I don't know who that is and what makes that, but it is a Bordeaux from Chateau Picard, and there's what's the year?
It is
what's
purple.
the vintage?
It is purple water. No one is ever opening these bottles.
Oh, come on.
No one's ever going to know.
Joey and I will do a tasting.
Oh yeah,
We'll buy a bottle and have Joey, who's a wine
Okay.
connoisseur who grew up in wine country.
that's interesting.
I would
That'd be
love for
good.
him to review
Great.
Chateau Picard
Great.
for us. How much? Well, it depends on the bottle. Depends.
Yeah, you might want
depends
to
on
check the price.
Yeah, let's go check the price. It looks like I'm on the StarTrek.com.
Can you pre-order?
Oh, it's a
What?
okay.
What?
They do have details. So the United Federation of Planets wine is a 2017 old vine Zinfandel from the Dry Creek and Russian River valleys in Sonoma. So like Joey should know exactly. It's a blend.
Yeah.
A Zinfandel, Syrah.
But they don't say which vineyard.
I think Dry Creek and Russian River.
Oh,
Valley.
that's the vineyard.
I think that's the
Gotcha.
vineyard.
Well, they scored big because they're going to
They're
sell a
gonna-
lot of wine.
And the wines will be featured at Star Trek Las Vegas convention, which is running this week in Las Vegas. Oh, I didn't realize that was happening.
So much to do.
Oh my gosh! If they're selling it there, and Vegas is like an open alcohol carry,
You're gonna have to find somebody else to hold the
City?
baby.
right? Like I got to fly there, get that bottle, walk through Vegas, and drink some Chateau Picard. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
got to get 2 bottles, one to drink,
Well, at least.
one to keep.
What about the gift?
No,
To your friend Jeremy.
no, it's all right. We'll share the open bottle.
All right.
You can look at it. And then the other bit of Picard news is Robert Picardo, the actor who played the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager. I'm not sure if he should have done this, but he reportedly in an interview said that his agent has been contacted by CBS expressing interest in bringing him in for season 2 of Picard. Talk about getting ahead of yourself here.
Yeah.
Hopping on that buzz.
It might. This news, which has now been shared and widely reported, might actually take away his chances of being on
well,
the
it
show.
would be very embarrassing if it backfires.
Yeah. But if it's true, then it means that they're interested in bringing another touchstone for set of 9. Her confidant. I don't know if you saw Voyager, Jeremy.
I watched a little Voyager.
bit, but the Doctor was
Hologram Doctor.
their data character before 7 of 9, the one who learned to be human. And if Robert Picard, who's obviously years older now, if he comes back, would they try to make him up to look like
de-age him,
de-aged Doctor, or play Zimmerman, who is the designer of the hologram, who
made him in his image.
Made him in his image. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, but they're tapping old, talent for characters.
I mean, I think I said on Twitter yesterday, like the whole idea of Picard, this whole nostalgia thing. I mean, I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad there are really talented people behind it. But it's fan service.
It's so fan service.
It's fan service. Like this is, and I love it, and
I'm a fan, and I will totally
exactly. And there's Star Trek Discovery for the new stuff, which is still some fan service there. Bring back the original.
Can we
TOS.
not be so cynical yet? Can we watch the show first before we say that? Because I have seen an interview with Jean-Luc Picard, otherwise known as Patrick Stewart.
Sir Patrick Stewart,
where he has said that he refused to do the show if it was going to be TNG again. Jeremy,
I reject the premise that fan service is a cynical take.
Oh,
I am totally fine with fan service as long as the main story is good. I like fan service because I'm a fan and I would like to be serviced. Otherwise, I can watch The Expanse or any other science fiction show.
I imagine there's going to be some good writing in this. That's the thing. I mean, and whatever, they have the characters, they have the storylines to play with.
I'm most hoping for good performances by the new characters. I'm intrigued by the new Vulcan character, for instance.
Yeah.
Well, what'll be interesting is how they carry the name forward in future seasons. Is this going to be Picard's offspring? Is this going to be, because I can't imagine Patrick Stewart doing this for the long haul.
Oh, I don't think they could do it without him. I think interest would fall off, like the strength. I don't know if the strength.
They're doing another Thor, so I mean,
he did say publicly that they hope to get a second season.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I would imagine if it is, popular, they'll want to keep doing it, and at some point he's just
he'll want to stop.
He'll want to stop.
He won't do 7 seasons of Picard.
It's just odd that it is so focused around the name.
Maybe it'll be 2 seasons and then they'll spin it off into another name and build with the same story.
Be Riker.
Oh, that would be a fan servicey show. Yeah. Other movie news: Venom. Did you guys watch Venom?
Yeah.
Don't think so. I don't think I saw Venom.
It's not an MCU film.
Yeah.
This is where Sony has some tricky ground to walk, because Spider-Man: Far From Home this past weekend has now crossed $1 billion, which means that I believe contractually Marvel Studios has the right to make the third Spider-Man film. It's the best deal for Sony ever. Right, they had their Spider-Man reboot, Amazing Spider-Man 2, which did okay, but didn't generate the amount of love or praise that the MCU has. And then Marvel came in and they did this unprecedented deal between studios where Sony has the rights to make Spider-Man films, Marvel/Disney has the rights to all Spider-Man merchandise, but not films, nor theme parks, I believe. East of the Mississippi.
Such a weird set of circumstances.
And
what about on the Mississippi?
I don't think you have theme parks on the Mississippi.
On a boat.
On a boat, though, yeah. A little Disney riverboat cruise.
That's for a lawyer to decide. It's not for me to decide. But the unprecedented deal was that Marvel Studios would produce and make the Spider-Man films and have Spider-Man be in the MCU. And as a trade, they even give you Iron Man, the Iron Man being the Spider-Man film, and as a trade for Spider-Man to be allowed to be in Infinity War and Civil War and Endgame. And Sony takes all the money. I mean, obviously they pay for production and they pay, I believe, like a producer's fee for Marvel Studios. And people get employed and paid, but the $1 billion that Far From Home has made, that goes to Sony's coffers and not Disney. And Disney's totally cool with that because it elevates merchandise sales and it elevates the MCU. But Sony also has its other Spider-Man characters.
Right.
Venom, Carnage, Scarlet Spider, all the villains, and
Spider-Ham,
and they did Into the Spider-Verse, which was awesome last year. And they could theoretically do their own Spider-Man spin-off movies that have Tom Holland in them.
That'd be so weird.
And it would be a rift in the MCU. People would be so confused.
They can make Spider-Man movies going forward?
They can make a Venom movie in which it references Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
But he can't be in it.
He could be in it.
Playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not a Spider-Man movie. It's a Venom movie. And it wouldn't be an MCU movie.
Is that a fact?
He hasn't signed a non-compete for...
Within the studio? His deal, I believe, with Sony.
Wow.
Okay.
How bizarre.
Isn't that?
You would think if once the license to Spider-Man moves from company to company, they get all the adjacent characters along with them.
The license isn't back at Marvel.
It's still owned by Sony.
It's still owned by Sony.
Oh.
It's just Marvel. It's a working relationship.
Gotcha. And that's going to be ongoing.
Yeah, because as long as the Marvel Studios MCU Spider-Man movies make $1 billion every time, which they have now, Marvel
Seems
will
like
do it.
everybody's happy.
Everyone's happy, except for fans might be confused. And Venom, I think, made like $800 million worldwide. People flock to see that movie. Like, I don't know, it's that great.
Yeah.
But they're making Venom 2 for sure. Presumably, Tom Hardy will be back to play Eddie Brock as Venom. And they're looking to new directors. And the news this week is that on the short list of directors is one Andy Serkis.
Wow.
Has he directed other things?
He has directed one other movie, and it's his Mowgli, the kid in Jungle Book.
Yeah.
His Jungle Book. I don't get the pronunciation, but he did. It was a Netflix, directed Netflix.
Oh, so there's the Jon Favreau movie, Jungle Book. It has nothing to do with that?
Nothing to do with that.
Did he perform in that one as well, or just direct?
I don't know. But it was CG animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kid actor, but it was a darker movie. I think Christian Bale was in it and did some performance capture and some. But Andy Serkis is an option. The other on the short list, other director is two other directors. There was Rupert Wyatt, who did the first reboot, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was fine.
Oh yeah,
It was good. Yeah.
I like that
Okay.
one.
And then Travis Knight is
Who's
the
that?
big wild card. He is the owner of Leica and directed Kubo and Bumblebee.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
And I believe is doing the $6 billion man movie.
Well, he gets my vote.
now. I think he gets my vote as well.
Yeah.
It's a little unfortunate because I wish he would devote more energies back to Leica.
Yeah.
The last film kind of came and went, and it was good, but I really don't want to see Leica go away.
Yeah. Well, neither does Leica, but
No, but now that their owner and their boss is kind of moving on to live action stuff and did very well with Bumblebee, his attention may be more in the live action world. I saw this on Jimmy Fallon last night.
what?
Jimmy Fallon, one of his guests, was a 16-year-old kid
The dude who was on Jimmy Fallon?
who won the big Fortnite championship,
Did you see this?
and he brought his trophy.
I mean, I saw the headline. I didn't
Yeah.
actually see the Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, no, yeah, you saw the headline. Like, I got a ding when this happened on my watch. CNN needed to tell me immediately that a 16-year-old kid had won $3 million in the Fortnite World Cup.
a solo win. It wasn't
in
team.
solos.
Yeah.
And I was walking with my mom at the time, and I said, "Do not tell my son."
I was so gonna ask if you told Peter.
Yeah, no. I did end up like because he's gonna.
He'll find out.
He knew all about the World Cup. It
Oh,
turns out, but he didn't know that it had ended.
What was the age range of competitors?
The average age was 16. You had to be 13, and
13.
so yeah, you figure if the average age was 16, it was not much higher than 20. Yeah, so a 16-year-old won $3 million. And in fact, everybody in the top 5, I think, won over $1 million.
Every kid playing Fortnite.
Every single kid and they are kids, every single person, but every single kid in the World Cup, that's 100 people, all of them entered winning $50,000.
Oh, right, because there's 100 players.
Yeah.
Was that so one match, 100 players?
I don't know. Then I did consider asking my son to come on the show to explain all of this.
To us old folks.
Yeah, exactly. Because the ramping up to the World Cup was a process. It was months long.
Yeah,
and apparently, like my son, there were 7 divisions. My son made it to the 6th, and he said it got so hard that he just threw in the towel. He said, and then when he went back to playing regular Fortnite, it was so easy. Yeah, because the players are immensely good. And I was like, well, I understand that probably the top 5, like their whole life is Fortnite. He said, no, everybody at the World Cup, all 100 players, they're playing 8 hours a day.
Oh my god!
Like this, and
so it would even be fun to watch.
What?
Would it be fun to watch as a layperson?
Because it's so twitchy,
or so like insider
I think
tricks.
it's
and
fun to watch as a Fortnite player, I would think, because I don't get into the building aspect. I don't understand a lot of the strategy.
I can't watch Fortnite. Like, it's one of those, to me, because the building is so like it looks like noise. I mean, I know I sound like an old person, but like,
but it's different from like from PUBG, because PUBG. There's no building aspect. You could watch a high-level PUBG game, 100 players, and it's just scavenging and finding people and shooting. And
it's relatable. It's relatable. They haven't really broken physics. And to me, Fortnite has this kind of weird thing that my brain just doesn't grok.
But I think like any good esport these days, they have figured out how to commentate, how to comment.
And broadcast it.
Yes, and the commentators do a great job of explaining what's going on and elevating the excitement factor.
Is there a VOD for this?
A video on demand?
Yeah. Is there a recording?
Yeah, it's all on YouTube.
Okay.
The hours and hours of it of the World Cup.
How long was that 100 match game?
There were several different phases. Like, I know there's a ton of Fortnite players like screaming at us right now, but as I understand it, there were a ton of different phases. There were like puzzle maps that you had to traverse, and people were finding the fastest route through them. There were duos matches, and there were solos matches.
But this one solo match,
I think this one solo match was like the culminating thing. But
was like the title match, like a wrestling event. It's like it was the one people waited for at the very end.
The guy who won it, Booga. That's what it is. That's not what his parents named him. That's his
chosen name.
Yeah. But I think by the time this match started, he was already secured a very high place, if not the victory, because it's based on how many points you earn over the course of the
It wasn't just winning
over World Cup,
surviving.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
and
Hunger
he won.
Games style.
This one person won with more than double the points of second place.
Wow.
So it sounds like he would have won even if it was a death match at the end.
Right, which it was. It was a death match at the end. It was solos. Yeah, and they're like trying to get the highest ground and picking people off. But, he got a few good
Here's
spawns.
what I'd like to
He's
say.
Clearly skillful.
I think there need to be higher stakes involved. If you're going to do a 100-player Fortnite PUBG championship, you get everyone on a big stage together. I want to see 100 different monitors for viewers to switch between what they want to see.
Yeah.
And on the stage should be elevated above a giant pool where every seat has a mechanism, and if you die in the game, you fall into the pool.
That's great. That's good spectacle.
Yes.
There was
Give us some real.
There was an interesting moment.
It's called a dunk tank. They have
yes.
In the divisions leading up to the World Cup, this duos pair was busted for cheating.
Controversy.
They had
doping.
Organized with opponents. They had organized with opponents to let them kill them, because you get points for every kill that you get. Yeah, they were colluding with supposed foes to let them kill them to get the points they needed to progress. When they were busted, they were banned from the tournament for 2 weeks by Epic.
Wow.
Only 2 weeks? I would think.
Well, yeah. So that's an interesting detail. Their clan kicked them out. You cannot be a member of our clan anymore. This is reprehensible. They ended up making it to the World Cup anyway, based on these two guys went duo. They went the solo duo.
So after the ban, they came back and did well enough.
Yeah, they did well enough to make it through to the top 100 World Cup. And the first time that they appeared on the big screen in this amphitheater, which is like, it's a tennis stadium, biggest tennis stadium in the world, where the America's
World Cup,
not
Wimbledon, U.S. Open.
U.S. Open is held. Like, it's a massive, massive tennis stadium. The first time that these two were on the big screen, a small crowd started to boo them, and then this boo grew.
Good. I was afraid you were going to say there were going to be cheers
until this entire stadium was booing at this guy who was on the big screen.
Great.
Then, while he's on the screen, somebody kills him. and the stadium erupts in applause and cheering.
Wow.
It was a really good moment.
No redemption for those guys.
No. I mean, now of course they're saying everyone's treating us so badly.
Don't cheat.
Yeah, you were busted.
Come on. Don't
you
cheat.
were busted.
Wow.
But what I want to know is, who are, like, of these top players, what is their family arrangement like? What they must be getting support by their families to pursue a career in professional gaming.
I mean, this is the true for any young esports player.
Well, hold on. if they're aged, average age is 16,
Yeah.
they don't need a lot of support. They're in their mom's basement. Like that's
support
not
meaning like emotional support, like allowance to do this and pursue this and not go to school.
Because a lot of these kids are homeschooled in order to pursue this career.
But 8 hours a day, you can still go to school and still play 8 hours a day.
But not do your homework. I mean,
Jeremy,
and when
these kids are so far beyond homework now. It's like Peter Parker in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Right. Well, they are.
Ned, I don't think I'm so far beyond high school. I'm never going to come back here. I'm an Avenger now.
And
that's what they're thinking.
When Booga won, his family came up on stage, and his sisters gave him a huge hug, and he gives him one back, and his dad comes on. It looks like the kid starts to cry a little bit. His dad's like, giving him all this praise, and I want to know that story because as a dad, I can't imagine endorsing such a long shot career in professional esports.
That's true.
And yet these families have, and it's clearly paid off for them. So I mean, this is a story I'd like to know more about.
Who pays the taxes?
Yeah, yeah.
Who buys video cards?
On that $3 million? What do you mean? Yeah.
The parents pay taxes.
Oh,
don't spend the $3 million.
Yeah.
Invest it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
If anybody knows the inside scoop on these families,
the economics of esports is always fascinating. It's one of the people pursue it internationally, and there's a lot of money out there. But is it sustainable?
this is the most. And I understand it will only stand for a few months because Valve is holding a Dota 2 tournament where they're upping the stakes even beyond this one.
Wow.
Yeah. That's where the money is.
It's
at.
not too late. Second career.
It's so late. It is so late.
16's the average. 13, it's a lot of 13-year-olds.
I'll
You can
buck
get in
that
there.
average.
Yeah. All right. Last bit of pop culture news before we got to move on is that a bunch of Amazon news for Amazon Prime. Not only do they have the trailers for the new Jack Ryan season, but they also confirmed that The Expanse season 5 it's renewed. So awesome.
Yeah.
Season 4 is coming out in December. They also put out The Boys, which is their big new show, superhero show, which I think Ashora's watch we'll talk about next week. And then the big thing they have lying dormant is, of course, Lord of the Rings. And they announced the creative team in this video of people who are working on this, including a lot of writers from shows like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Hannibal, and other producers, artists, showrunners. They have the production designer from the Lord of the Rings films, and production designer from Last Jedi as well. The only thing they really haven't, and they call this their fellowship, Meet Our Fellowship, they haven't talked really about the actors yet. Although they did, I think today, the first casting was announced. What is her name? Relative unknown. Markella Kavanaugh playing a character named Tyra. That's all you know. It's not a name from the Tolkien books, so it could be a placeholder name. But this is going to be a big prequel. Whole age before what's happened in the Lord of the Rings books or the films. It's presumably in the same universe as well. And the director who's directing and setting the visual tone of the series is J.A. Bayona, who did Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and also The Orphanage. So he's had a lot of success in that world. Don't know if Weta is involved, and a lot of people are asking, is Weta involved? I think that stuff, that whole production side is still being worked out, but they will be filming some of this in New Zealand. So our hope is that Weta will be involved, but I think it's kind of out of their hands. They don't have the rights to it. That does it for tech news. Or pop culture news.
You want to do the button?
Do I get to do the button?
Yeah, hit the red one.
It's the big red button?
Yeah.
Here we go. That felt good.
Teach a man to fish.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
You have the power.
The immediate response of that was good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Embargoes were lifted this week on some behind-the-scenes news for behind-the-scenes stories about The Lion King, and specifically how The Lion King was made. Now, we heard about this briefly in interviews that Jon Favreau had done in promotion of The Lion King, but now we've discovered that a lot of journalists got to go on set. And what did set mean for Lion King? Well, they had a whole performance capture facility, and they had basically a place for a virtual set. And the virtual set was was entered in through VR. And there's this wonderful, wonderful photo. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Of Jon Favreau and the cinematographer Caleb Deschanel and the crew sitting in HTC Vives, color-coded, holding the wands and presumably chatting with each other about the production. And they're just kind of laid back in chairs. It's like totally, the VR pose.
They are color-coded.
Yeah.
That didn't occur to me. Why are they color-coded?
Because I'm sure whoever was running their tech wanted to make sure it was be as easy as possible for someone, for the team, not just one person, for like a group of people to get in.
Yeah, just to make sure it's dialed in. And, yeah.
We have an update.
Who's this?
And then just jump in, put it on, and
don't want to get face cooties from somebody else.
Yeah. But this is a new world of filmmaking.
Yeah. I wonder if they sprinkled some Lion King dust from the original somehow in there.
So like they burned some cells, some animation cells.
Yeah, something.
I don't know. And Jon Favreau said they did say there was one shot in the film that is not CG. That is a real shot of the Serengeti.
Really?
But he won't say which one. I think he has revealed which one, but I won't say which one in case you haven't seen the film yet.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet.
My family saw it, and it did not get a fresh tomato. It's not doing terrifically well. It's like on the cusp.
Oh, in your family?
No. On Rotten Tomatoes.
On Rotten Tomatoes, got it.
But my daughter, my wife, loved it. So there you go.
Again, it's also made $1 billion. Yeah.
It has made $1 billion?
Worldwide.
Holy cannoli.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People love it. Jump through. Okay. Big tech news. Apple bought Intel's modem business for $1 billion. Speaking of $1 billion.
God, $1 billion just isn't that much money anymore.
It still is. You think about social network?
Just making sure.
You know what's cooler than $1 million, $100 million, $1 billion? Well, it turns out that, Apple has like
a few of those
in cash reserves. But they needed to do this because their deal with Qualcomm wasn't the best, and they won't have 5G phones. I don't think it's going to matter. They won't have 5G phones this year because from all the reviews of the network and the costs, 5G just is not quite there yet. You can get performance in perfect environments and temperatures and altitudes and line of sights, but it's still going to be. And so the theory is that next year will be the first year where the iPhones will have 5G.
What's it going to take to solve the network problem? Is that just more towers?
Yeah. More towers.
Okay.
More infrastructure.
It's much more finicky.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. And then I'm jump on to this TechCrunch story. TechCrunch got to visit Microsoft's prototyping studios. Did you see this story?
Nope.
This is really neat. So I don't know if this was like why this story, like why the access was given, and was it maybe in response to some of the keyboard problems that maybe Apple has had, and Microsoft wanted to get out in front and saying like we don't have those problems, but they got to go visit 3 of these interesting rooms. One room was, of course, the quietest room in the world, as verified by the Guinness World Records.
Really?
It's one of those like those chambers that have the
chambers. Yeah.
Exactly, in which they have the very precise mics, and they test the volume of a keystroke or a button press, and then like all their hinges. And then they had another room in which they have body casts of employees. There's a photogrammetry studio where people bring people in and they take photogrammetry models, capture models of their ears and their hands, and then they just fabricate a bunch of different hands and a bunch of different ears and a bunch of different body parts and thumbs and fingers to test ergonomics and how the things they're making, the mice, keyboards, and laptops respond, and headphones respond to different fit for different people. And then there's a photo of their 3D printing lab. I think Adam got to visit this, and it is just their fabrication lab. It's just the most expensive CNCs, like multi-axis CNCs, where they can just say, let's make this variation of Xbox controller and make a full milled aluminum version and adjust on the fly. But it just goes to show how much precision and care they take into things that we take for granted.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
One interesting point in the article, lowered article, is they list off the 7 factors that Microsoft engineers consider when designing a keyboard. And it's something that they factor in key travel, which is how far a key goes until it bottoms out, important. Key spacing, distance between the keys. Key pitch, so the angle on the surface of the key.
Okay.
Key dish, which is
The concaveness.
the shape of it. The texture, so the actual graininess of the key. The key sound,
It's a big one.
and then also the force to fire, which most people know is like how far you depress before it actually triggers.
Yeah, they have different colors for the majors.
For switches. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
it's not the distance; it's actually the physical amount of
the force.
The force.
Amount of force. Right. And also something that it's not listed here, but also like the amount of wiggle. Like when you
Yeah.
rest your fingers on a key and there's a little bit of looseness there, that is by design.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's something that I think we all take for granted. Even reviewers take for granted and just assume, okay, well, I don't like the key travel. I don't like this. But no,
I think the
they've
wiggles.
done all that testing.
I think the wiggle's probably good because your finger doesn't move in a perfectly straight motion when you're pushing
and
straight
down,
down. So
yeah.
you need a little bit of compliance there.
Right.
He's
Or
a
it could be
mechanical.
a psychological thing for when you rest your keys, like that the immediate haptic feedback of knowing where your keys are resting or
Sure.
where your fingers are resting on the keys. All sorts of things.
Yep.
It's amazing to me how much is done by choice and design nowadays. Because when I was growing up, I still take this for granted, or I still make the assumption, rather, that people make things with the parts that are available and the components that they can find and the materials that they have access to, and they make something that works.
Sure.
And thank God we got something that works at all.
Well, now we've iterated past the just works to now we care how much wiggles in the key.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of technology marching on.
Yeah.
On the phone side, the Google Pixel 4 has more info on that. And one of the surprising, it's supposed to be launched in October. One of the maybe not surprising things is that they're going to also adopt a face unlock feature as opposed to a thumbprint sensor.
Oh boy.
And they have there's a whole blog post on Google about a whole sensor array on the top of the phone.
Now that's going to have
including-
radar.
Front-facing camera. There's a radar chip. There's IR blaster, illuminator, IR camera. So kind of very reminiscent of what Apple did with the notch and what Apple put in the notch for the iPhone 10
Almost 2 years ago.
almost 2 years ago. And the question will be, I mean, I'm sure Google's confident in their software, but the big difference is where is that biometric data stored, and whether Google can promise that biometric data isn't being sent anywhere.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing that I saw, I mean, the radar chip was really fascinating because you can actually do some really cool stuff with the radar. Like you can detect heart rate and breathing and like really sensitive motion with those chips from a distance even.
So if you're looking at your phone and using your phone, it's passively getting that info. That could be really good for ads.
Yeah, no, there's some. Yeah, I mean, it detects micro movements really, really well. So I don't know about that particular chip, but that'll be just fascinating to see what then if they open that up to developers and how how much access you have to that.
On the iPhone 10, the thing that surprised me most, and the thing was that for the face unlock was the gaze detection and the way they did
retroflexion,
right, which is just purely a reflection, right? Like I thought they were doing some computer analysis as like where your pupils were and whether you're looking.
It almost seems like a hack,
right? But it's like no, by just flooding IR to the back of your retinas and it bounces back perfectly. It's like looking at a cat in night vision,
Get that
right?
red eye.
You get the red eye. That is what they're looking for to see whether you're looking at the phone.
Yeah.
If you're not looking at the phone, it won't bounce back perfectly.
It's an option. You can turn it off. But it is a fun thing to play with.
And it's such a simple,
Yeah,
it's a simple
clever.
thing.
My kids try to get my phone to unlock by holding it up to my face. As long as I don't look at the phone, like it doesn't unlock. They can't make me do that.
Well, the people who have hacked iPhone, they've just put little tiny IR LEDs to blast right in where your eyes are on their face casts, and that's worked as well.
Do either of you use Face ID? You do?
I don't.
Do you?
No, I have an 8.
So this summer, my phone stopped recognizing me.
Uh-oh. What does that tell you?
It tells me I'm old and ugly, like compared to the year and a half ago when I
Or you're better looking now.
set it up. That I appreciate that possibility. I hadn't considered that, but starting this summer, my phone's just like, no,
That's not you.
You're not that guy. so I redid Face ID, and
It's supposed to learn.
and 1Password stopped working because it was like, nope, this is a new Face ID. You have to type in your password.
Yeah, the one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really fun video about someone who reassembled their own Android phone in Shenzhen, and this is the same guy who previously made the last video about
adding a jack. I mean, he's done a lot of different videos.
Yes, but putting a headphone jack in the iPhone.
Was it the 7? Yeah, the 7.
Yeah, the first one didn't have it, and
he did it, by the way. There was room.
Yeah, no, totally.
Just saying.
He made the headphone jack. Yeah, and he compiled his own Android phone by going to recycling shops and literally asking for the individual components. Right. There are places where they just take old phones, and the hardest thing was finding a board, right? I think he wanted the Galaxy S10 board, and he ended up with a 9 Plus. But asking if they had that, going from shop to shop to shop, and saying, "Do you have this board? Do you have this board? Do you have this board?" And then they did, and then hopefully that wasn't a board that was burned out, and it wasn't a board that was locked to someone that it was wiped properly, and it booted up, and he's able to compile essentially from individual components a working phone. It's basically the same. It's basically
this does not surprise me.
No, and especially with Android, because Android is meant to run on so many different platforms and different hardware combinations. So you're not going to have some hardware specific incompatibility. It's a lot more flexible. It's almost like running Windows or Mac OS in a way. Well, not Mac OS,
but you could do the same with the iPhone parts as long as you've found all the right parts.
But they have to be like perfectly matched, I think, in probably iOS, because it's I would think it would be. Well, I'm saying that I don't know, but that would be my assumption. But that they'd have to be a little bit better matched, where Android can run on, all sorts of different things, hardware wise.
Yeah, and iPhones with each generation, the suppliers are locked in. Right. And individual parts models in that generation are locked in and keyed in. And for Android, it's
not so much.
Not so much. It's anyone. Yeah. Samsung, speaking of Android, Samsung promises that they're going to relaunch the Galaxy Fold in September.
Ugh.
They said they have fixed and reinforced their display
for this huge demand for folding screens.
Isn't what they did? So the problem was that sheet. That
the protective sheet
made it look like you could peel it off.
It looked like a protective sheet.
And they just expanded it, so it made it look less like a screen cover.
Yeah.
But it's still there. It just goes edge to edge now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's now an integral part of the display structure. It was never meant to be removed, but it's now apparent. But the feel of it is still there, and like better reinforcement. But I think it's too late. This is I think a disaster on par with their, maybe not as bad as the exploding notes, but I think this product's kind of dead on arrival.
Who's gonna sign up for that?
Yeah, with all the bad PR, and this is an expensive $1,200 phone too.
Oh, I thought it was $2,000. Isn't it 12? I thought it was more expensive.
Well, a very expensive phone.
Yeah.
And they had planned on selling 1 million of these.
They did. I don't know. I think whoever is in the market for a fancy phone like this is going to spend the money and have their fancy phone.
You mean Samsung employees, executives?
I don't know.
As their secondary phone.
I don't know anybody like this. So
they're going to sit there with their Chateau Picard and their
arcade pinball cabinets
and their folding phone,
and then they'll tweet about it and tweet from iPhone.
It doesn't sound too far from you, by the way.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't. You're the one who wants a pinball machine.
I can
and
want
the
it,
wine.
but I'm not going to buy it. I can want it all I want.
Okay.
The wine, I think, is a little more attainable. Hopefully. We don't know. We don't know yet, depending on the vintage. Sony's done a couple interesting things. They have gone on the consumer side. They've started crowdfunding a few of their projects. I think they did it with a camera system earlier this year, and maybe this is less a true crowdfunding and more it's like a pre-order.
I was going to say, I don't think Sony needs to get funding to do something.
It's market research.
It's market research.
Right?
It's marketing.
On these kind of experimental products, but and it's their own crowdfunding site, right? Called First Flight.
What?
.Sony.
Huh.
Yeah, it's not Kickstarter or anything.
So they get the 3%.
Sure. And they have this new product called the Rion Pocket, which is an air conditioner, a portable AC that is stitched to the back of your T-shirt.
Heat doesn't, all you can do is transfer heat from one location to the other. And the fact that you're not, your air conditioning works at your house because you're taking, heat out of your house and putting it outside.
It can also heat you.
It can also, yeah. So the fact that you're only transferring the heat from one spot of your back to slightly further away from your back. I'm sure it feels lovely, but
it feels like a little back rub.
Yeah, I don't see this one as being I'm revolutionizing the personal temperature problem.
You wait. The next scorching hot day we have, the person who has this in the office is gonna be
loving it.
Yeah.
And
you gotta have a special shirt
myself
too with the pocket.
The envy of all.
It's a very small device. It's like 5 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 10 centimeters. 5 by 10. 2 centimeters thick is kind of thick.
Does it work with any shirt?
No, you need special shirts with
special
a pocket. With the pocket. Yeah. It seems like a Kickstarter project.
It really does.
But from Sony.
Which is,
very, very weird. It's like a perfect...
You kind of want one, don't you?
I want one. And it's kind of one of those things that I would see at CES. I'm like, we should try
While
that.
you're drinking your shed open car.
More reasons to go to Vegas.
Yes.
And then finally... I guess this is not surprising, but Elon Musk has confirmed that the Tesla next update or one of the future updates soon will get Netflix and YouTube streaming as long as the car is stopped.
Okay, so it's good for people charging because Teslas have a unique case, or electric cars have a unique case, and that people spend a lot of time in them when they're parked.
Yes, and they could be playing
video games,
racing game, and arcade. They could be making fart sounds.
Dude, I still say network games with the whole chain of cars parked at the supercharger. Be freaking fun. I want to do that.
So how would that work? They would need to install routers at each of the superchargers.
Why not just some sort of weird peer-to-peer thing, like
Bluetooth
firmware update?
You probably get Bluetooth. If within 100 feet.
Yeah, Bluetooth. That's
you
it.
You do a Bluetooth car to car.
Just do pole position multiplayer.
100 feet is. Is there interference?
It's just next one to the next.
Yeah,
All you need is the next
could,
one.
You're not talking
maybe
about
do mesh.
10
mesh
cars.
Network.
Yeah, and mesh would be.
Or you just all have to park facing each other, so you can.
So maybe they paint certain lanes.
Yeah, game lanes.
These are the game lanes. So some checkers flags on the parking spots, and you park at those spots. That's the designated. I'm here to play.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm here to play racing. I'm here to race.
Right.
I'm here to race. I'm gonna park my car. I'm ready to race. I'm waiting for the next person to roll up.
I think that is such a great
head.
idea. I don't know why this isn't happening right now.
Well, because they're also putting Netflix and YouTube on. And people maybe just want to not use their phones and they want to watch Netflix. Well, the thing is, they have good sound systems.
It's true.
And when I watched the episode 9 trailer, I used my car's sound system and watched it on the iPad.
Nice.
And if I could watch it on the
they could do first-run movies. It could be drive-ins where you actually have to be...
Drive-in. Oh, my God.
You could combine drive-in with charging.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. We got lots of business ideas for that, Elon. Elon, if you're listening, call us up.
Sync up all the displays so people all watch at the same time.
Yeah, so you can get the oohs and ahs. Yeah,
and then you sell your popcorn at the right next door.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure
drone delivery of popcorn.
A popcorn maker will be an option in Tesla one day.
Well, they have coffee machines at those.
At
the
stops.
one in Catalan City.
Nice.
It's nice the loungy ones, not all of them.
Yep.
Those. Yeah.
Bougie.
Yes, very, very bougie.
PBS is coming to YouTube TV?
Yeah, so
That's
a minor
cool.
bit. Yep. YouTube TV increased their price $35 to $50 a month, but they got all the script network stuff now, Discovery and HGTV and all that stuff, and now they're getting PBS, which is the reason I want to bring this up is it's a weird place for PBS. PBS was always meant to be free, and it is still free over broadcast. So
No commercials? Yeah.
No commercials, funded by people like you.
Yep.
And support from, all these grants and funds. And it's becoming less accessible.
So they're going to inject YouTube commercials in front of PBS shows?
No, I think this is YouTube TV.
Oh,
So
okay.
YouTube
It's just
TV
okay.
service.
So it's just
it'll
their
work as a channel. I think the more interesting story is if they partnered with a service to stream PBS over like YouTube or Vimeo or place, because you can't do it on your app. There is a PBS app, but you have to like confirm you have a cable subscription or your location, because there are affiliate channels. But it's an old distribution network that's just kind of getting outdated, but it's kind of still valuable.
Absolutely.
So it's a good thing that's happening. I just wish that it was in more places than just YouTube TV, more really accessible. Yeah.
There's always bunny ears. It still works. It's in HD and everything.
Not to my phone.
That's true.
And the bunny ears, do TVs now have
Antenna inputs?
Yeah, inputs.
Sure. That makes it a
But
TV. Otherwise, it's a monitor.
No. And it can decode the signal?
Heck yeah, dude.
I thought you have to have a separate
No,
box.
stop it. No,
Are you sure?
Misinformation.
Are you sure?
Yes, I mean obviously it depends on the TV.
Every TV that has a coax
you can buy them
input.
with and without, but yes, you can certainly buy them.
But it's still a TV.
Yeah,
Without.
No, that they didn't. They used to say it wasn't like that. What made it a TV was that decoder.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because just because there's a coax doesn't mean that like cable, cable TV, you don't need the decoder. Cable will just pipe in.
I don't think I can
The
just
signal.
plug rabbit ears into my TV, and it's a TV. I hate to break it to you.
That's what you call it.
Okay.
I have rabbit ears plugged into my TV, and the rabbit ears is an antenna on my rooftop, but it's plugged
Okay.
into the TV.
All right.
It's a Sony, only for like a few years old. I don't know. Maybe the world's changed.
The world is changing very quickly. That does it for technology this week. We're not doing. No, we can't do a moment of science. We're not doing tilt warning.
I just want a brief update on that pinball story from last week. Jurassic Park was revealed. It is unveiled. It is a deal. It is happening. Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Designed by Keith Elwin, the designer of Iron Maiden.
Yes.
The best pinball player in the world turned designer.
And one of the best games now, Iron Maiden?
Iron Maiden is certainly respected by everybody who plays pinball. A lot of people think it's the best game Stern's ever made. And
A lot of people, not you included?
no, I agree.
Okay.
And Jurassic Park, though I have not played it, it looks a ton of fun. It's got 10 shots. Like, it's just got a ton of variability to the shots you can make. It, as far as theming goes, as you saw, the artwork isn't like the most amazing artwork in the world. There's only one cast member. It's Wayne
Wayne
Newman.
Wayne
Right?
Knight.
He's the only voice they got. But my feeling is they took all that money and they put it into the game itself. And the 3D animations that they developed for the game are all their own, and it's sweet. I mean, the game
Will
just
there
looks,
be a pro model?
the game looks like it plays so well. There is a pro model.
Oh.
And I'll play it this week. It's going to
it's going to be at Pinburg?
at Replay Effects. There'll be 7 of them there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll be excited to report back
Very cool.
on Jurassic Park.
Can I push the button?
Yeah.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
I realize, Jeremy, now, as I see you're not plugged in, how are we going to do an outro?
I can plug in.
Yeah.
Say, you can sing it.
Just a little bit of VR news this week. Oculus Cloud storage is something that has existed just within the desktop side, but now a future update will allow cloud storage saves between mobile and desktop, which is a good thing. I think they'll need to do some better signposting about which games will support that. But then if they're cross-platform games, like if you play a Super Hot or if you play Robo Recall, your saves on one will port to the other. And I think most Quest games are going to be on Rift anyway.
Yeah.
And then Racket NX, get an update there.
Why am I looking at the old show notes?
I don't know.
Something
I don't know.
happened. I opened up the outros and now everything's gone wrong. Yes, Racket NX update, as I recall. First of all, Racket NX is out, and I don't know if we've touched on this.
We
much.
did. It's great.
It's really great, and it keeps getting these reviews from people on Reddit who have tried it for the first time, and it's solid. Like, it feels good. Like, they nailed the frame rate. The graphics look as good as the PC version, and the multiplayer is really good, like, out of the gate.
And being untethered, full 360, really important part of the game.
It's like playing as it always should have. It's almost like it was prototyped on PC and it's come to its native platform. The update allows you to play with any other Racket NX player from any platform. So you dive into the game, you type in a 4-digit code. Anyone else in the world who types in that code gets synced with you. And you can play with people on Steam VR, on the Rift, on other quests. And I believe you can even play with people using your same account. So if you have two quests,
Right.
for instance, you can join each other's game.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's cross-buy, what do they call it?
Yeah.
Where if you own it
Buy
on
one,
Rift,
yeah,
you get it on Quest.
Some people are sharing some great footage of VR games they're working on, especially in the subreddits. One, I don't know if there's a name for this game. This is a asymmetrical game, much like in PSVR Worlds, where you had that game where the one person in VR was the big monster, the dinosaur, and the people were playing with the gamepad. This is similar to that, but the game is called Davigo, basically David versus Goliath. But one person in VR plays a giant head, and then the other person runs around this play area. And it looks like it could be a ton of fun. They're grabbing trees and throwing at them. The interesting thing is, how do you balance it? How do you make the person who's playing as a giant character, since they also have one-to-one motion, they're technically moving a lot faster than the person in the small. How do you slow down their movements to make it more balanced?
Yeah.
And they said that with their testing, they could have some latency to simulate sluggishness, and that still is comfortable and it still makes it fun because you have that advantage of being its giant size.
Reminds me of the game. Remember Populous?
Yeah.
Where you're the gods and
Oh God,
Peter
Yeah.
Molyneux.
whole new.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been clamoring for a black and white remake.
Yeah.
Black and white would be a perfect game in VR.
Yeah.
Multiple gods,
Yeah.
throwing lightning bolts down, picking up tiny people.
Totally. Well,
Yeah.
this has that feel.
And then this other raw footage of a game. It looks like it's like a Tetris, but also PC versus VR. So the person in VR is like firing from first person's perspective while they're in the Tetris column, and then on the PC side, people are playing the actual Tetris game. So I love asymmetrical games, asymmetrical design, and we should hope to see more of that in VR.
Those are big hits in our house because we only have one headset, but have multiple people to play.
There was that game that we played on Go where one person was on a phone.
Yeah.
The other person was on a headset, and
Yes.
it's like a secret agent thing where you're helping command station from the phone, and the other person's in the headset.
Sure.
That was a lot of fun.
Kind of keep talking, nobody explodes kind
Exactly.
of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. That could have been better if it was on Quest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, most things would.
And then you have your index. Did you talk about this last week?
No, but we've talked about the index. Like, we know index is
Yeah.
all. I think I maybe did mention it because I remember saying that my sticks were
Right.
not pressing.
Yeah, I played a lot, maybe more than I've any other week this past week, just because I had some time in the evenings.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed is maybe it's just me, but I'm gripping my controller too strongly.
Even though you don't have to grip it
Even
at
though
all.
you don't have to. No. For like a game, I'm playing a lot of Pavlov.
Ah,
right?
I see.
And in the game, you grip the controller to hold the pistol.
Yeah.
And because it's not an analog controller where I know the trigger point, going back to the keyboard, right? Going back to what is the pressure required to activate, and you can calibrate, right? And some games will let you have very light grips, but because I don't have any tactile, like haptic feedback on the
You're
grip,
just squeezing the heck
I'm
out
just
of it.
squeezing the heck out of it because I don't know what the threshold. There's no visual indicator to say you're going to squeeze too lightly and drop. It just hits that point and suddenly you lose your gun. And so I'm squeezing way too hard, especially in a shooting game. And I'm finding my carpal tunnel is like acting up at the end of like an hour play session.
Interesting. So yeah, they need to give you. There's a feedback to the developer, like some kind of tactile, like
Maybe, or some animation.
Would you rather they use the trigger?
Well, I've always
that's for
said,
firing.
I think in a review, I always said like I don't know which one I like more yet, because on the touch controllers, having that analog tactile
on
button,
the palm,
I
kind of.
will always know
Right.
how much force I'm pushing in, even though it's not a true grip. But with all the sensors, like they have the capability to have a very light grip be a hold. But if I'm trying to simulate, if the idea is I'm simulating holding a pistol, like what is the appropriate amount of grip?
Maybe that's a setting.
It is a setting that you can tweak, like
how much you would need.
Yes, and maybe that's something.
Is there a place to test it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you need something that gives you the feedback before you actually drop it. Like it gives you a little buzz if you're squeezing too hard or something.
Right.
Something.
Or an animation. I think in the Valve Aperture Hand Lab test, there's on your wrist, there's a strength indicator for how strong you're gripping.
That makes sense, yeah.
And that's something that...
I thought it also kind of rumbled as you squeezed it in the test, in the Valve app.
On certain objects?
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't think so. Like shaking the hand you get a little
Again,
bit.
it's the developer has to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to see that problem.
Yeah. But it's something I noticed, like holding that virtual pistol up. I'm like, I'm gripping this way too much at the end of the play session.
You're going to end up with VR arms where you have the big...
like a tennis elbow or something. But anyway, really enjoying it. And I want you to play, Jeremy, so we can talk about it more
I'd love to.
in the future.
Just
I'll
not
walk
this
you through
week.
it. Okay. You're going to be in Pinburg.
Yep.
Yeah. That does it for the podcast. Hey, we ended up not talking about World War I airplanes.
Not at all. But hey, I hear there's another podcast
There
where we
is.
do talk a lot about
There's
that.
a 30-minute conversation about the work you guys did on the Peter Jackson's World War I airplanes on this episode of this week's episode is Still Untitled.
I can wave a prop from the show, the hit flag that we use for testing the.
Who made that?
Somebody on production. I think I forget who it was. I didn't.
I
just stole it.
You did the servo work.
Yeah.
though.
No, I did. Yeah, I brought the servo and we just this was made out of like gaffer's tape.
Gotcha.
It's really well
Nice.
done.
That's a great artifact from production.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyways,
Thank you so much, Zach, for joining us this
Of course.
week.
As always, this is fun.
And people can find you at Build Cool Stuff.
buildcoolstuff.com is the easiest.
All right. Jeremy, have a good time at Pinburg.
Thanks. I plan to.
And I think we're going to have a really fun episode next week hearing about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More arcade stuff.
More arcades.
Yeah. Do we have an outro this week?
We do. I don't think we played it before. Theme Park Nightmare?
I don't think so.
All right.
Sounds
This
good.
is from Wohawk. Oh, why aren't you doing it? But maybe. Okay, let's boost this up. This is new stuff. I wonder if that'll come through.
No, wand choosing you?
Yes. Yeah. Apparently phase 2 is actually going to involve phase 1.
The wand store. You're just taking the wand off the shelf, nicely packaged, but you're watching the short performance. No, we talked about this, right? Like it's a
that.
small group of like 5 to 7 people, and then the whole magic happens in the room, and then the performer, the lead wizard, picks a lucky child. The wand has chosen you. Now my assistant will escort you to the checkout counter, where the parents want. Sorry, you don't get it for free. The parents want to spend $50, $100, whatever it is, to buy that wand. They choose the children of the parents who look like the biggest suckers.
Yeah.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Harry Potter land. That's what we're talking about.
I got
What? It is? Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it was a Star Wars thing.
No.
The lightsaber thing.
Wand.
They have
Yeah,
that
it's
as
the
well.
same thing.
Galaxy
Same
Edge.
suckers.
Same suckers. Different park west of the Mississippi. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.